In here, is the gas chamber area. So what you'd have to do, see, this would be a potential area for bombing, all here. They would try to come in and hit this area, and most likely they could do that, but there would be bombs over here and there would be bombs over here. The Nazis were tried at Nuremberg, but nothing happened to the Allies. Winners normally don't get tried at Nurembergs. And I wondered, they had roles to play in encouraging and allowing the Holocaust to go on as bystanders. Was there any legal responsibility for that? And so my work at the conference has been to look at the British mandate for Palestine, under which the British ruled this area, Palestine, from 1922 until 1948. And in the process of doing that study, I discovered some marvelous things about violations of the rights of nations and the Jews that lived in those nations. And so I talked about the possibility of bringing action against Britain, even at this late date, for things that happened during that period. And that's been a real thrill for me, because as a lawyer, I thought I was going to be studying legal history, and I might be actually dealing with something that can be actually enforced in the present.
I discovered a number of years ago that the Allies knew about the Holocaust, that is specifically Britain and the United States, much earlier than most people knew, and much earlier than I myself knew, and I'm a Holocaust survivor, because they did so little to publicize the Holocaust, to protest it, to involve themselves, that even though I survived the war in Poland and had all these experiences and then came to the West, came to the United States, I thought, along with all sorts of other people, that nobody really knew anything about the Holocaust until the camps were liberated in 1945. That is what most college-educated audience in Western countries knows, I believe, or has known. But then I came across, this was a number of years ago, the Allied Declaration of December 17, 1942, which very clearly identified German policy as a design for the extermination of the Jewish people of Europe, and possibly as a prelude to the extermination of the Jewish people throughout the world.
I want to sue Britain for the loss of lives of Jews who were legally trying to get to Palestine during the war period from 1939 to 1944. There were thousands of them that were trying to get here, to escape from Hitler, from places like Romania and Bulgaria and Poland, and their ships were coming, and the British were turning them back in some instances, just forcing them to go back, and from those places, many of those people went to the camps. In other instances, the ships were floundering or weren't making it to Palestine because the British would not permit them to come, and so other countries wouldn't allow them passage and wouldn't make sure they got to Palestine. And so we had the Struma, we had the Salvador, we had numerous other ships, about 16 different ships that we know of, that we have records of, and there may well be more, that just didn't make it here with thousands of Jews aboard. And so I would like to bring a lawsuit to bring attention to what Britain did there, something that Winston Churchill announced that this was illegal to restrict immigration here. Franklin Roosevelt told the State Department in the United States this was illegal, but neither one of them would do anything about it, even though they had the power to do it. And that's a story I want to tell, and that's a suit I'd like to bring.
Actions which altogether amounted to, in effect, collusion with Nazi Germany in the process of extermination of the Jewish people of Europe. Not a finger was lifted, and the United States especially, but certainly Britain joined in it, operated on the theory of hands off the Holocaust, to the point where the Minister of Propaganda in Germany, Dr. Joseph Goebbels, wrote in his private diary on December 13, 1942, he wrote that that Britain and America appear to welcome, that's essentially what he said, appear to welcome German actions or Nazi actions in liquidating, as he put it, the Jewish riffraff. that appears in his diaries.
The motive for me, I'm not Jewish, but it's both a humanitarian and a legal motive. Churchill said that this is an international legal commitment to Jews worldwide that they would have a place to go. And then he disregarded that and refused to enforce it. Roosevelt said that all the American Jews should have the same rights of Jews anywhere, and then he wouldn't do anything about it when those rights were violated. I think that some responsibility needs to be imposed, and we need to correct the record on what those two gentlemen did and did not do in connection with the effort in World War II. So that's what my concern is. I'm concerned with doing something about lawbreakers and also doing something about a couple of national leaders that I don't think were quite the heroes they were made out to be. I don't question that Churchill and Roosevelt were great wartime leaders in a lot of respects, but they certainly didn't do in this instance what they were required to do.
There seems to be a great coincidence in terms of developments. 70 years after the Holocaust, we're asking again, are the Jewish people in danger of being exterminated? And it's almost eerie that the number of Jews living in Israel is not too far off from the number of Jews who were destroyed in the Holocaust. The Nazis used gas chambers, and there are people nowadays, we don't need to name them, but you know who they are, who might use nuclear weapons in order to achieve this. And the question is, how is the world going to deal with this? How will they react? What are they going to do? So there are a lot of issues which recur in history, and this is one more reason why to revisit the past is very useful and perhaps even necessary, so that people can confront, what happened and see how that might apply to what's going on today.
From the Philistines to the present, the lesson to Israel is trust no one.